Life. Life is a disease. A millennium ago, a supreme necromancer was on the verge of conquering the world. But you know what they say about best-laid plans. Inevitably, heroes shall emerge. So, I was made dead. Again. But what does death really mean for somebody who has mastered it, Boredom. An eternity to ponder my errors, and how close I came to victory. I am a mortal, but when this world ends, even I will know oblivion. And so, I ask myself, will I be given another chance to rise before it happens? Another chance to fulfill my ambition? It seems that fate has smiled after all.
Hello everybody! I'm Raphael Perry, and it seems the time for which many of us have waited has come to pass, and Iratus has broken free from the constraints of early access, and is now a fully fledged game indeed. And so it's time to begin a new playthrough, of course. Oh, that's... there we go. Now, Let's start with the basics, shall we? Iratus is a game in a similar vein to Darkest Dungeon. In fact, those of you familiar with Darkest Dungeon will notice a lot of similarities. However, it also is its own beast. And in this game we play the evil necromancer Iratus and his horde of undead minions, rather than a nobleman hiring groups of heroes to go off and deal with monsters and other problems. And rather than delving into dungeons to complete quests, Iratus' quest is to get out of the dungeon, to escape, to break free, to reach the surface land. Now, I've played a lot of this game in early access because I backed it on Kickstarter a few years ago, and I've been patiently waiting and playing and enjoying it ever since. But I'm pretty sure that quite a few of my viewers will also have played the game in early access already, or have watched it and be quite familiar with it. However, since some of you will not, I'm going to take things a little bit slow to begin with. And explain things, you know? Right, let's start a new game. Now, I've played around a bit, and we have different difficulty settings. We have Cakewalk, which finally actually feels like a cakewalk. In early access, Cakewalk felt like normal difficulty level, and like there should have been an easier difficulty level below it. Now it actually feels easy. More Pain is the next difficulty level up. Good Always Wins is even harder, and then if I can complete Good Always Wins, I get to Eternal Harvest. Good Always Wins is a little bit on the tough side for a YouTube playthrough, I think, so I'm going to go for More Pain. Because while the Cakewalk finally feels easy, it feels a tiny little bit too easy. And I'm hoping that with More Pain, my knowledge from early access will give me enough of an edge that I won't have a hard time. Well, I won't have too hard a time of it. So, normal starting resources. Yep. Normal battle rewards. Stronger enemies. Some elite enemies in normal battles. That's going to be a problem. Enemies can get inspired. Well, yeah, obviously, wait. Enemies can't become inspired in Cakewalk. No wonder it felt easier. They could before. Less vigor recovery from minions out of battle. Okay. Iratus recovers less mana out of battle, and normal graveyard efficiency. Okay, let's go. Checkpoints. The game will be saved automatically at the start of each floor, available only on Cakewalk and More Pain difficulty levels. Okay, I don't see why not. I'm not going to have the tutorial turned on, so let's go for it. Here we see Iratus arrayed with a mob, a throng of his undead minions arrayed behind him. But hopefully soon we will see him in his lair when this load screen has finished its business. And indeed I do believe that's a good sign, but it's stopped and hanging ominously. Joke would have been on me if it started spinning again. Okay, so this is Iratus' lair, and there are quite a few things here. Now, a lot of things to find and interact with. If you don't find them, there are buttons along the top as shortcuts as well. So, if you're wondering what this is, this was from the Halloween event, where we had to go play hide and seek and find the pumpkins hiding in the dungeon, and got a little trophy and some minion skins out of it. Yes, due to early access we have alternate skins for minions and stuff, which I'll look into a bit. Speaking of which, down here is where Iratus keeps his minions. They are arranged in parties of 4, so as you can see, the Dark Knight is now in a different party to these other 3. When we head into the dungeon to go and fight our way through the various guardians and adventurers who stand in our way, we will be choosing parties from down here to deal with our enemies. Alright, in no particular order. Talents. Iratus can gain talents. Essentially skills and spells as he gains levels. They are arranged in 4 categories: Destruction, Ire, Magic, and Alchemy. I'm pretty sure I know where I'm going to put my first talent. And it will be in Amateur Surgeon, which increases the chance to receive uncommon or better parts by 25%. Now, parts are the body parts we use to construct our undead minions, and when they are constructed of better quality parts, they are significantly better than when they are made of fairly mundane, common components. So I'm going for this as a long-term investment. We also have Architecture buff, where Iratus reads up on architecture and how to build things solidly so they last, so that we can build things more reliably in the graveyard. We have Advanced Doctorate and Experimental Calcination, both of which work differently. Advanced Doctorate essentially allows us to restore health to our minions more quickly, and Experimental Calcination allows us to recover more mana so Iratus can cast more spells. Speaking of spells, the Blackest Lodge allows all our minions to be more scary. The Whip moves a minion forwards and gives them increased accuracy. Haste makes a minion act more quickly. Arcana Antediluvia allows us to recover mana after each fight, so that would also be a good one to dip into early. Ire. Yes. Iratus has a Roth mechanic where his fury and anger builds up and then his minions feel it and feed off it. Roth Unchained means his minions hit harder. Amok gives a minion extra critical chance, extra scary, extra damage. Oh no, sorry, loses critical chance but does extra attack and damage. Okay. Blind Fury, every time a minion misses an attack, Iratus starts to get angry about it and build up his frustration. And Drums of War. Minions get extra initiative if Iratus has 25 Roth or more. Okay, and then we have Destruction, which is different. The magic spells are more manipulative, whereas the destruction spells are pretty much purely damage based. We have the Cursed Doll. It's a voodoo doll, it does magic damage to a target. Flaming Skull, sets someone on fire. Hail of Teeth, strikes twice at a target. Now this is useful if the target has some kind of special defenses. Again, things we'll get into later. And Bone Spear strikes the first 2 enemies, dealing a bit of damage. Now the reason I'm avoiding exact numbers is that Iratus has spell power which can power these things up, and also it interacts with mechanics we haven't discussed fully yet. Right, Alchemy. So what can we do? Extraction allows us to create trinkets which we can equip on our minions, giving them additional bonuses. Distillation allows us to restore health to our wounded minions, and the Advanced Doctorate talent doubles the amount of health reclaimed from distillation. Calcination allows us to restore mana to Iratus, and if we take the Experimental Calcination talent, we will double the amount of mana recovered from calcination. And then Transmutation allows us to transform components into another kind of component, possibly of a higher value. So if I was really short on, let's say, armor, and I had lots of ectoplasm, I could go, say, make me armor, put in a load of ectoplasm, and make some armor part. But the quality of the armor would vary based on the quality of the components I put in and Iratus's character level. Alright. Here we have the laboratory where Iratus creates his minions. Minions are composed of lots of different parts. So for instance, if you wanted a skeleton, we'd want a skull, some bones, some armor, and a weapon. I will create a wraith, which will use up cloth, 2 ectoplasm, and 1 ashes. Now, the button which allows us to autofill does so manually.
Why do I get this sinking feeling in my putrefied gut?
It will always aim for the grey components rather than green, blue, or red. So yes, we have buttons here, filters, that are very useful. Here we have the graveyard. In the graveyard we can construct a large number of buildings which all help us in our quest. We start with the mortuary unlocked. We can place minions into the mortuary to recover health after battles. Now the obelisk allows us to gain more Digger's Souls. Digger's Souls here are what we require to build things in the graveyard. The library grants Iratus more experience because he can study and his minions can study and help him and tell him what to do. And we appear to have another talent point. Did I not spend that one? I'll check that in a bit. The Abode of Roth, we put minions in here and they allow Iratus and his minions to generate Roth more quickly. And the minions use Roth to power up their most effective and most potent skills. The excavation allows minions to search for body parts and dig up body parts that Iratus can use to place into his laboratory to create yet more minions. Very useful. The Iratus statue basically generates mana as minions worship Iratus and tell him how great he is and stroke his ego. The arena is where we send minions to train and gain more powerful more quickly. Because yes, minions gain levels too, and the Dead Lake, which I frequently called the Dread Lake back in early access, so I might do that again, just warning you, is full of things that have just been chucked in there over the years, and some minions can fish out useful artifacts that Iratus can make use of. For now though, I'm going to make the long-term investment and build the obelisk. So the mystical obelisk attracts wandering souls. Every minion next to it generates 3 to 6 diggers' souls. Applies after a victory, except quest battles. So we place in our minion, we pay the requisite amount of souls here.
The cold-edged stone of the obelisk hums with the power of souls drawn towards it. Many ancient monuments were built for exactly this purpose.
And now as we see, our wraith is working permanently attached to our minion and cannot be removed from it. Back in early access, you could place minions into buildings and then draw them out again and choose who worked where and when. That is no longer the case. So if you have played a lot of early access, you have been warned. Now, talents. Yes, I do want to take amateur search.
The will becomes free.
Now, this chest contains artifacts. Well, this chest and rack of weapons contains artifacts. We start with 1. In the easier mode, we might start with more than 1. So the Hoop of Fear. For each escaped enemy, Iratus additionally gains plus 25% of the experience from the current level. Yes, our minions are very, very scary, and sometimes the enemies run away.
Mortals tremble before me. Well, even more than previously.
If they run away, we don't get to chop up their bodies for parts to use afterwards. So that's bad. But if they do run away, at least Iratus will gain experience. Iratus gains experience, and Iratus gains levels. He has spell power, which makes his spells do extra damage. Wrath at the start of a battle, which means generating more Wrath, obviously. And mana restored after a battle is 5 points. Okay. Iratus can equip weapons, rings, amulets, although this appears to be a ring, armor and robes, and consumable items which only last 1 battle. Also, we can disintegrate artifacts to give Iratus experience points if we no longer have need for them. And finally, here we have the Humanarium. The Humanarium is full of interesting facts about our enemies. As you can see, I've already uncovered quite a lot of information about enemies in the Humanarium due to hundreds of hours playing in early access. Now, don't get me wrong, I am no expert at this game. There are many players out there who are probably better than me, and there's tricks and traps I may not quite be using, right? So if you see something you'd like to see me try out, why not let me know in the comment section down below, because I'm going to I have a habit of being a bit of a, just falling back on tried and tested tricks and techniques that I like. So for now, I'm going to be sending this little group of minions out into the dungeon, and let's take a moment to talk about our minions. We have the Bride of Aratus. She's not literally his bride, he has created many. A design fashioned by the arch-necromancer himself, the bride uses only the best parts to raise a deadly archer with an unhealthy love for her creator. Said love is then channeled into a burning desire to shoot out the eyes of anything that might try to get close to the one she worships. Essentially, she is a jealous harridan who doesn't like the idea of other people getting near her man. Also, she dresses like a wag, basically. We are going to change the way she looks. We have some skins. I do like this one. There's the gold bling chav bride. And with this sort of voodoo one. I'm going to go for the hooded one. And we shall call her Elsinore. There we go. We also have a skeleton. The skeleton is kind of a support character, and it's often actually hard to keep him alive, so we need to be careful about that. A fairly unimpressive warrior, whose one standout characteristic is their utter mediocrity. While they often make up the backbone, pun intended, of most undead armies, skeletons are so boring that they are never really acknowledged by their creators or their enemies. So Iratus doesn't care too much for the humble skeleton, but he might be able to help us out in the long run. Now, let me see. I quite like this skin. We also have the Halloween pumpkin skeleton skin. But I think for now I'm going to go for this one with the axe. And we will call him Braxtor. Yes. There we go. I'll obviously be talking about all of these stats at some point as well when we get into a fight. But for now, obviously, I think looking at the time and things that have to be done today, I should probably get in there and have a fight. So, a zombie. This is not my favourite zombie skin. I don't generally make use of it. This one is like the serial killer skin with the weird mask on. And then we have this crazy scarecrow skin. We could almost make it like the Wizard of Oz. Dark Knight could be the Tin Man. Yeah, maybe not though. But since I don't normally use this one, let's do it, and let's call him Ulfar. There we go. So, the zombie carries a very big cannon, which he shoots enemies with. It's his main thing that he does. He's a literal walking artillery piece. And then we have the Dark Knight. We will call him Daft Invader, because he is a daft invader. And in fact, we shall give him a skin more appropriate to such a name. There we go, he is the Daft Invader. Now let's go into the dungeon and have some fun. The kingdom had need of the vast riches buried underneath the castle. Great veins of ore that promised to fuel conquest after conquest, along with ancient artifacts from a long-forgotten age. The dwarfs were eager to offer their services in this project, bringing their untested mining equipment and experimental concoctions for the promise of wealth. They only needed bodies that could obey, and that the humans could provide. With dungeons filled to the brim with both criminals and rebels, there was no shortage of slaves to work these mines. Drugs were used to keep them docile as they dug ever deeper, year after year, unaware of the mortal danger that awaited them below. So basically, that bunch of greedy, grave-robbing treasure hunters who broke open Iratus' coffin might have been on drugs at the time, so yeah, it's probable that their judgment was compromised. So, here we have our large dungeon map, which we will be heading through, trying to get to the exit here, which will lead us to a higher level, to the Dwarven Tunnels. On the map, we can see enemy groups, and enemy groups here. We can see at least one person in each enemy group, and if they are relatively close, we can see the exact composition of the enemy group. There are other things. So, these steels allow us to gain additional experience for either Iratus or our minions. The ancient coffin contains basically trinkets that minions can equip. The chest contains artifacts that Iratus can equip. An exclamation mark is a quest or story type adventure. The sacrificial altar lets us to literally sacrifice a minion and get a load of parts and items and a random consumable. Right. These soul springs contain diggers' souls, which we can use to build things in the graveyard. And the cultists, well, when Iratus visits the cultists, they say, "Oh, Iratus, you're really we love you, we think you're ace. Here, have some awesome magic items that you can give to your minions, and they'll be really, really, really wicked." And Iratus says, "Thank you," and the minions are like, "Yeah!" And we win, because the cultists are really, really, really nice, and the items they give us are really, really good. I'm not sure exactly which route I want to take through the dungeon yet, but I'm going to at least start with this first encounter. Let's do it. Alright, So our first enemy has thrown up a stance. We'll get to that in a moment. First off, we have ability scores. Lots of them. So, attack is how much damage we will do physically. These are the conscript stats. These are Braxtor, our skeleton stats. Vigor is health, right? You lose all your vigor, you die. Sanity is something our enemies have, and we do not. We're completely flipping mental. If we can deal enough damage to a target's sanity, they can go insane. Although they can also become inspired. If they lose enough sanity, they might even want to run away. And if we can get rid of all their sanity and deal even more sanity damage, there is a chance that they will die outright. Literally be scared to death. Chance to escape. As we reduce their sanity, their chance to want to run away will increase. So yes, attack is how much damage they do. Sanity, how much sanity they have. Of course, our minions do not have sanity, our minions have dread, which is the amount of sanity damage they will inflict with stress attacks. Accuracy represents how good they are at hitting. It's literally a percent, 95%. Evasion is literally reduced from accuracy. So he has 18% evasion, so with our 96% accuracy, we literally just take 18 off that, giving us a 78% chance to strike that minion. Luck is our chance of landing a critical hit. Critical hits often have special effects. I'm not sure if critical hits automatically inflict more damage, but they often ignore blocks and wards, which we'll get to in a little bit. Armor protects you from physical damage. You just take that amount of armor off. Resistance protects you from magical damage and stress damage. Block, as represented here by the one little block, just completely blocks a physical attack. It says, no, I'm not taking that one, I've blocked it. Wards are blocks for magical damage or stress damage. So, critical hits, as generated by luck, seem to bypass blocks and wards on a fairly regular basis. And finally we have initiative, which affects the initiative barrier and bar up the top here. Now, our enemy has entered into a stance. At the beginning of his next turn he will deal 195% of his base damage, which is quite a lot, to a random target. It will be a random one of ours, it won't be one of his allies. We want to stop that. So, looking at minion skills here, I have Show Them Their Place, which could bash someone and knock them back a lot. Obviously the unavailable skills are greyed out. You see, a skill will show the 4 positions I have and the 4 positions of the enemy. Positions marked in yellow are ones from which I can use the skill. And also you can see the arrows pushing of numbers showing that I would move forwards 3 places and my target would move backwards 2. And those positions marked in red show which enemy positions I can target. It also says it interrupts stances. Unfortunately, he is in the 3rd position, so I can't use Show Them Their Place to show him his place. Embrace Mediocrity would increase the armor and resistance of an ally. Now, that's useful because the bride here has a relatively low amount of health, and it might be good to protect her, as we don't know that we can stop that. But I'm going to be greedy and use Smite. A physical attack which attacks twice, dealing 40% of his base damage, performs additional attacks for each buff on the target, but it can reach position 3. 1 miss, 1 hit. I'll take it. Now, the Daft Invader. We have the Heartless Slash, which deals 60% damage, but 40% of the sum total of his armor and resistance as additional damage. At least 2 or 3 of his skills rely on pumping up his armor and resistance quite high. We have Hollow Stare, which will deal a lot of stress damage. Dark Tithe would generate wrath and mana. You see, Our mana here is the blue ball in the center, our Roth is the filling ring around the edge. We also have spells to move left and move right to reposition our minions if we're not happy with the places they are in. We can only cast one spell a round, after which they are used. And we have Futile Hopes, which is very useful if our enemies are gaining buffs from some source. Now these enemies don't have a readily available source of buffs, so we won't be using that. Unfeeling Aggression, it's basically Holy Lance from Darkest Dungeon. That's all I need to say, really. And Abyssal Hunger is a Roth skill, which costs Roth. You see the red fist? Yeah, that's Roth. The circular board of it is filling up here slowly. We will just go for Heartless Slash and attack this man with the hammer. This hunky young fellow, he's literally called Hunky. So he has placed a debuff now on our Dark Knight. And we'll probably want to get rid of that. So with Elsinore, we have Chest Piercer, which deals physical damage. A critical hit will deal quite a lot of physical damage. Flames of Love, she'd need to be further forwards, and it literally lights a fire in our enemy's heart, let's say. Overwatch, when an enemy moves, shoot him. Think of him. Yes, she thinks about how much she loves Iratus and fights harder and scares enemies more. Or Warning Shot, which is a stress attack which interrupts stances. It would also send her back 3 places if she found herself unusually forwards, and knocks the enemy back 1 place, but more importantly here, we have a stance to break. And finally we have our zombie. We have Volley, which is a magical attack, shoot a person, which would completely bypass this block as it's a magical attack, not a physical one. We have Buckshot, which deals a reduced damage but hits the target and the 2 enemies behind. Igniting Mixture, chuck it on 2 people and set them on fire. And more powder means he'll do even more damage on his next attack. We will use Buckshot because we have a block to strip away here. You see that the block absorbed all the damage, which is completely fine. Now, he's already suffering from cowardice, so he now has a 24% chance to flee. Before the beginning of his turn, he deals stress damage to all allies, equal to 20% of their current remaining sanity. So, or 5% for bosses, so we want to actually keep him around and not scare him away. The Hunky can inflict debuffs and stuns, and the Miner has a nasty habit of attacking twice, and dealing quite a lot of damage with that pickaxe of his, so we'll shoot him with an arrow. Nice, good physical damage there. We'll even try hitting him with a sword as well. I could have removed the debuff, but it's gone now anyway, so that's fine. And our skeleton will strike twice at the Hunky. I'm spreading the damage here because I do have some AoE attacks to try and take enemies down. Alright, so Ulfar now has, because we have 68 Roth, Ulfar can use the Cannonball skill, which would knock him back 1 place, shoot an enemy for twice his normal damage output, and if they survive, knock them back 2 places. For now, I think we'll stick with the Buckshot. Here we go. And of course, this coward is still inflicting. You know what? We'll have Braxtor the Skeleton use Shield Banger to scare the living daylights out of all our foes. Lovely. Daft Invader. If only we had 2 more. Oh well, we don't. Oh! Concentration. Well, we can't have him sticking around too long. He's a high priority target now. Because he will do things like this and hurt us quite a lot. Right. Rose for a lady. All the damage.
Extinction of life.
Is that a stun? That is a stun, I'm afraid. So, yeah, stunned. He's going to skip his next turn, which he's just taken. Uh-oh. We could lose a zombie here. We did not lose a zombie, and our skeleton needs to come rushing out and shield bash him to death. Lovely. The reason we've moved back is to make it harder. Ooh, and our enemy wants to run away.
Congratulations! You entertained me.
The loss of a zombie, that is horrible. Right. So I'm just going to use Abyssal Hunger. Losing that zombie is going to hurt. A little bit. Not too much, but it's enough of an inconvenience. So I'm just going to try and finish this fight quickly now. Wait, she's double turning? Okay. Shoot him as well then.
Mop up the gore. I'd hate to see plants using it as fertilizer.
So with our enemies defeated, we can see that we took some damage to our skeleton and completely lost our zombie. That is a shame. We've gained some Digger's Souls, a spider web, which Iratus can equip, and some body parts, and a brain. Brains are nice for minions. From the graveyard, we've generated some more Digger's Souls. I'm going to make another zombie, because I don't like losing that one so early.
No
you see, the brain here was
but all firepower.
Was marked with a little yellow diamond to show that it was new. So our zombie will go for serial killer skin, and we'll call him Dreknik. Yes. The Bride of Aratus has gained a level. Now, her skills, every third level we get to upgrade one of her skills. For now, though, we just get to upgrade her stats. So you see on the left here the stats, the current value, the how many times it's been upgraded and how many times it's allowed to be upgraded, the amount of extra, the amount by which we'll increase it, and the cost. We will gain 2 stat points a level. So for 2 stat points we could gain +3 attack. We could also increase our health. Some things are greyed out because they require more stat points, so we're going to need even more, so basically save them up. So if we wanted to increase her dread value, we'd need to wait for her to get to level 3 for an extra 2 stat points. For now, I would like to increase her evasion or health, because she is a little bit on the fragile side. If I increase her evasion, I could also increase her luck or accuracy. You know what? I will increase her evasion and accuracy. Alright, now it's time to delve into the dungeon. Oh, it is not! We gained an additional talent. Right, so with our new talent, I am going to go to Destruction and pick up the Bone Spear spell, because it strikes 2 targets simultaneously, and that's good in case one of them has a block that we want to get rid of. So, as I was saying, now is a good time to delve back into the dungeon, and, well, no, delving is digging down. We're surging upwards towards our enemies. And I'll have to plot a route and decide which way I want to go. Obviously, I'll be looking to avoid these elite squads, but also looking to run into as many soul springs and groups of cultists as possible. So maybe coming along here, up here, turn a left, up here, this way, up this way, here. Oh, this is tricky, right. So round this way, I see cultists. This way, I see... Okay, so we're going that way to the right. Well, that's enough progression for now. So, if we are heading this way, let's go to this coffin and get stuff out of it. Alright, select a boon. Yes, we don't get to keep them all. Sharpen Bone. The minion's abilities ignore both blocks and wards. This is really nice. And apparently we haven't fully leveled her. I'll check that in a moment. Burning Blood. His minion's attacks restore 50% of the damage dealt as Wrath. That might be good for the zombie. And Essence of Mind. The minion's attacks restore 15% of the damage dealt as Mana. Well, I'm going to take the Sharpened Bone.
I'll take it as tribute.
And why does it think I haven't fully... I have fully leveled her. Weird. Right, who are we going to give this to? Ignoring blocks and wards. She's more of a precision and one, so actually we'll give this to her. Yes, and I'll do one more fight and then I will end the episode. Let's go fight this group. Hey, no minor this time, that's great, right? That's really great. So now we have a spell, and 2 conscripts and the hunky. You know what, this interrupts stances, let's go for it. We knocked him back, and he's no longer ready to smack us one. The Daft Invader will lay into this big bloke. He doesn't look that hunky. He looks maybe he doesn't even look taller, he's just standing a bit straighter. Okay, and let's use the Bone Spear just to deal a little bit of damage to
this wretch.
Then we will shoot this one back, just softening him up for the future. And I'm so glad that attack missed, because our skeleton has no armor yet. You know, we're just going to pour more powder into the cannon bear. Just power up for a big attack. See, we have another stance to deal with. Okay. Skeleton, do your thing. You know what? We'll use Astounding Fortitude. It gives him 10 armor and 10 resistance, but the enemies will attack him more often. Now, I don't want to cast any more spells this fight because we've used 15 mana already, but I do want to interrupt this stance. Did he just become inspired? He did. Energized. Receives +1 initiative. Before starting their turn, he restores 10% of his maximum sanity to himself and all. Right, he needs to go. He needs to go right now. But we can't reach him easily, so we'll have to hack our way through to him or knock people back. Okay, we're going to set up a bombardment, which is a stance. At the start of his next turn, the zombie attacks 4 times, each attack dealing 55% of his physical damage to a random remaining enemy. This attack does not consume an action. Let's go for it. Now in future episodes I won't be explaining things quite so much because I'm going to assume you guys have got your kind of basic idea of what's going on now. We're just going to go for the kill here, which we failed unfortunately. Ouch. So, rose for a lady.
You will soon embrace
Nice.
your new existence.
And we will have the Daft Invader strike this fellow, as we need to bring an end to his existence. Oh, that could stun, that could knock us out of our stance, but it did not.
One more for the stockpiles.
Nice damage. Okay, we're just going to set up bombardment again, but realistically we're probably not going to get another attack, because one of our other minions will do the job for us. Hey, Braxtor, kill him.
Mine is the winning side.
Now, if, unlike me, you've only just picked up the game, you will find that after your first 2 rows of minions, these are all greyed out. They are locked, and you need to perform various conditions to unlock them. For example, for the ghoul, you need to deal damage to your own minions. For the mummy, you need to cause lots of stress to enemies. I can't remember all the unlock conditions, but they are plentiful. Basically, if you mouse over any of them, you will see the unlock condition that you need to do to learn the design for that minion. I'm going to create the Lost Soul. Now, the Lost Soul is a very strange minion indeed. She inflicts lots of stress upon your enemies, and then buffs them up, giving them some sort of false hope, and then strips all those buffs away from them to buff all of your minions instead.
How easy it is to deceive the living.
So for this group, I want a Lost Soul, an Unfrozen, a Dampier, and a Vampire. But I'm not going to build them all just yet. Actually, you know what? I will. So we'll have our Unfrozen, who is like the Night King from Game of Thrones, basically. We have the Dampier, who's like a kind of half vampiric creature. Don't even ask how that happens. Yeah, she's only a half parasite and a vampire as well. There we go. That's our new minion group. Now, For Braxtor, I'm going to give him a bit of armor and resistance. For Dretnik, we will again give him some armor. And for the Daft Invader, yeah, you need some armor too, really. But that is where I'm going to leave it for this episode. I hope you've all enjoyed this one, and I will look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Feel free to use the comment section down below. You know, there's also the like and dislike button and everything else. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now, folks.